Let's get political. Again. In my last video, I discussed one of Kamala's most controversial economic policy ideas, a 25% tax on unrealized gains. I must say I am very happy because the video had a lot of attention and positive feedback for providing a neutral explanation of a proposed economic policy. I'll be doing the same today, explaining more closely an economic topic related to the 2024 election so you can make a better informed decision. And a quick reminder, I can't even vote, so I stay as impartial as possible and just use my economic knowledge to help you understand better. Today, I will review one of Trump's main proposed economic policies, tariffs. When it comes to economic policy proposals, and a focus on the word proposals, Trump does have a small advantage on Kamala because he's been drafting his economic proposals since around 2020 to 2021, when he knew he was running for president. Kamala, on the other hand, only knew this a few months back when Biden dropped out. This is why, like I mentioned on my last video, if you go to Kamala's website, she does not have an economic plan, but Trump does have one. Nonetheless, it's pretty interesting that tariffs, which is something that has become such a big focus in the campaign, it's only mentioned twice in the economic agenda of Trump and has almost no detail or specifics. Since tariffs have become a central focus of the campaign, Trump has provided some specific through speeches, the most important being the one that he gave to the Economic Club of New York just last week. So let me start by breaking down the policy, but a quick parenthesis, I'm doing this video before the first Trump and Kamala debate, which may provide some further detail. Keep that in mind. But as of today, the proposed plan on tariffs by Trump are, first, a 10% tariffs on all imports, and two, a 60% tariff on Chinese imports. These are the numbers that Trump has mentioned the most, but he did not mention these numbers in the Economic Club speech, nor has he aligned them in any economic plan. So let me start with the negatives of the tariff proposal. The issue with tariffs is that they introduce market inefficiencies by distorting prices, which lead to higher costs for consumers. In the last few weeks, many economists have come out against these policies by pointing out the fact that most of the increases in prices due to tariffs will be automatically pushed to consumers. Let me give you an example. I went through my desk and I tried to find the first thing that said made in China. And as it turns out, that thing is this phone stand right here.
Sort of have it, and you went super hard the first day and got home extremely.
I purchased this stand on Amazon for $9, which in my opinion is pretty cheap. This makes sense. A product that doesn't have too many specifications is manufactured in China and then brought into the United States. China has cheaper labor, so it makes sense to do it abroad. But what happens if we say that this phone stand now needs to pay a 10% tariff? It would technically be 60% because it's from China, but let's keep it simple and say 10%, which is what's proposed for all imports. Well, there are two possible outcomes. Outcome A is that the company keeps making them in China and adds a 10% additional cost to the product. So the phone stand is not $9 anymore, but $9.90. Data always shows that additional new costs like tariffs or inflation are always pushed to the consumer. They are never taken in-house and reduce the margins of the company. And then outcome B is that we stop importing the phone stands from China and make the phone stands here in the United States. This is the main goal of the policy, putting America first. The issue with this is very simple, opportunity cost. If you want to manufacture phone stands here in the US, you have to convince US workers, which are usually more skilled and therefore more expensive than Chinese workers, to manufacture phone stands instead of doing something else. While this may create additional jobs, it also creates additional cost because you have to pay those US workers that are just much more expensive. So, in both cases, the outcome is the same, something that has been supported by many economists. The consumers will be the ones hurt. While it might create more jobs, the overall outcome is probably going to be higher prices. It is important to say that Trump did this in the first term, and more importantly, so did Biden just this year. Biden increased by a lot some tariffs in specific industries on Chinese goods. This is something that is really important when it comes to tariffs, and something that Trump also did during his first presidential term. If you want to protect sensitive economic industries, for example, to try to help development of newer industries like electric vehicles, you may impose a tariffs on those specific industries to help the US growth. Trump is aware of this by also mentioning during the speech that he will give massive tax cuts to companies that focus on research and development, something that I think is great. But now that I mentioned the negative effects, let's talk about the positives. Trump is someone that was president, and he also was a successful businessman, so he does have a clear intention for doing this. The policy does put American workers first. While there might be a clear argument of why this hurts people at the end, it does create more jobs for certain economic classes, and also saves other jobs that were about to be lost to competitors overseas. And just like with Kamala's proposed increase in taxes, an increase in tariffs will also increase the government revenues, which are additional revenues for new hospitals, new schools, or once again, to decrease the economic deficit. Purely economically, this policy is a little harder because any introductory economic class in high school or college teaches you things like deadweight loss, consumer, and producer surplus, which are all inefficiencies that increase when tariffs are imposed. However, Trump did also propose a policy that has the same goal but is done a different way. This policy is the proposal of lowering corporate taxes from 21% to 15% for companies that produce goods in the US. This will give the consumers the power to choose what goods are the best for them, and also for companies to evaluate if it makes more sense to import or use the tax write-off and make it domestically. However, it will be interesting to see what is considered a US good or what is considered to be produced domestically. Is a Corolla that gets the parts from Japan but is assembled here in the US considered a US good? What about if you make the parts here but the raw materials come from Mexico? Those are some of the questions that are still unanswered under the idea. Either way, I hope this video helped you understand the policies a little better. And if you liked it, please do me a favor and first, subscribe, obviously. And two, let me know in the comments what is one economic policy that has you leaning towards one candidate or the other. Remember, economic policy, not immigration or personality or foreign policy, because I don't know much about those, but economics, I can help. I will continue doing these videos until the election, so make sure that you subscribe so you can check them out. See you next time. Peace!